What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/IDontWorkHereLady. This story's called, "Where's the flippin' tonic water?" A funny flashback to my days in the beer industry. I was a level 3 of 4 in the company despite being a 24-year-old, and my days consisted of meetings, sales presentations, and meetings. Nothing was better than holidays when I chose to take off the business suit, throw on some blue jeans and a Miller Lite brand polo, and help the distributors sling beer on the shelves. One day I made the unfortunate decision to wear a red polo at H-E-B, a grocery store in Texas. Employees wore red polos, despite the fact that mine had a huge Miller Lite logo on it and was a different shade of red. I spent my day apologizing to customers that I didn't know what aisle X, Y, or Z was on. Then came the Karen in all her Karen glory. I feel someone grab and yank my polo as I'm throwing a 24-pack into the cooler. "Where the flip is the tonic water? There is no flippin' tonic water! I need my darn tonic water! What is wrong with you people?" It went on for probably 45 seconds when I held my hand up to her face and said, "We don't work here." Karen turned red, all flustered, and started spluttering and apologizing. "I thought you an employee." As she walked away, I told my distributor loudly, "Wow, what kind of miserable person speaks to anyone like that?" Not a great comeback, but I bet Karen thought twice before verbally assaulting an employee again. Well, let me correct you right there, sir. Karens do not learn. Karens that were Karens are currently Karens that are Karens and will always be Karens that are Karens. This story's called, "No One Works Here Anymore," a slightly different I Don't Work Here. Two things before we start. This is my brother's story and not mine. And two, this is a different kind of story to what is usually seen here, but hopefully not too different to not fit in here or go against the rules. Okay, so here we go. My brother works for a removal firm that essentially shells out old businesses. For example, if a shop or cafe gets shut down for whatever reason, the firm comes in to remove signs and display boards, disassemble counters, and that sort of thing. Yesterday, he was working at what used to be a cafe in town, a few hours away from where we live. The main doors were wide open as there were many people carrying things in and out of the place. Important to note, my brother was in what used to be the main area of the cafe when he looked up and saw a man with an assistant's cane walking in through the front door. My brother came up and asked him if he could help him. The guy said, "Yes, a table for one, please." My brother responded, I don't work here. No one works here anymore," and went on to explain that the place had been shut down and he was just there to clear everything out. The guy was upset. Apparently this cafe used to be one of his favorite places, but no one had told him it was shutting down. He didn't kick up a huge fuss or anything, he just apologized and left. Okay, so this story is just sad because, you know, the dude's blind, so he can't really see anything at all, because that's what blind is, and he just woke up that day and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to my favorite cafe." So he makes his way down to the cafe. However, a blind man would do that, only to be turned around and said his cafe was shut down. Come on, universe, he wanted his coffee, or whatever he wanted to get, at least. Alright guys, here we have a pretty wholesome story. It's called, "She was fully aware I didn't work there, but was unlikely to get help otherwise." Background: I consider myself deaf, though I'm really just severely hard of hearing. I don't like wearing my hearing aids because after a while my ears get sweaty and it gets a little uncomfortable. Think about it like wearing cheap earbuds in for a while. Same experience. I just happen to have my hearing aids in because I tend to like being able to catch more of what I miss, and it allows me to have better conversations without needing to sign. However, in public, I tend to do what's called com sign, which is signing while I'm speaking. It's out of habit more than conscious effort. The story. This is in no way what seems typical for the subreddit, as it doesn't end with a spectacular finale. My roommate and I were shopping at Wally World, just getting a few items like milk, diet soda, stuff I missed for burrito night, etc. I was wearing a dark gray shirt, black slacks, black shoes, black socks, glasses, and hearing aids. Roommate was also not wearing close to the colors either. Gray sweatpants and a black shirt with 2 wolves on it. So no way we could potentially be mistaken for employees. Well, coincidentally, it wasn't being mistaken for an employee's, but the fact that I was speaking with my voice and signing. I wasn't paying attention to this gal, probably about 20. However, my girlfriend had noticed her and she signed, "Help me." My roomie, who needs signing slowed down for him, still asks me vocally to direct my attention at the lady. She signs again, "Help me." I sign, "Hal help you." Biggest smile ever in the universe. She signs that she knows I don't work here, but she needed help to speak to the store manager about coupons for batteries for cochlear implants. I signed to her, telling her that I think Walmart accepts coupons for their competitors, but I'm not sure, but I think a regular employee would know since they're trained for it. And that's exactly what we do. Rumi and I stopped our shopping, went up front to the cashier, and I asked the question of the century for this gal. "Do you guys accept competitor coupons for things like hearing aid batteries?" "I believe we do, but I'm new, so let me just make sure." At this point, the cashier calls for a customer service manager who shows up less than a minute later. "What's the problem? Can we accept coupons like this for hearing aid batteries?" "Yes, we can. If it doesn't scan, just do a price match and put it in your drawer." Meanwhile, during their conversation, I'm signing to the deaf lady with dead battery having cochlear implants what's being said. I sign to her to go pick up her batteries and point to where they are. She runs back in a couple minutes while my roomie and I were chatting with the cashier, mostly about cats. Cashier rings up the batteries, applies the coupon, deaf lady pays, and immediately uses a battery in her processor. She then thanks us and hands me $1. Off she runs, into the night. We've seen each other before numerous times over the last 3 years of me living here at that store, and other places around town. But this is the first time I've personally interacted with her. Rumi and I finish our shopping and end up at the cashier again. It was late at night, so take what you will. There's no assault, no sense of entitlement, no police involvement, no screaming, yelling, or crying. Just a deaf gal with a cochlear implant that needed some brief help being able to communicate with the hearing world while out of batteries. Extra, extra, read all about it. I'm going to cut in with some things that I think may come up in the comments. Before you ask about the title as to why she wouldn't have been able to get help otherwise, while it's true that with her cochlear implant she'd be able to hear, but how well is up to the person. And her batteries were dead, so no sound until she puts the batteries into the processor. So she was completely deaf. And lip reading is still difficult, even for me. While I can catch things like vowels, it's pretty bad when you're completely deaf. Think of bad lip reading on YouTube. My roommate and I were the middlemen for her being able to communicate with people. And why didn't she just speak? I know for a fact she is able to, but she has a major deaf accent according to my roommate. I didn't hear her well, but he could. There is also this thing that many hearies have that are complete myths that are still believed today, even unfortunately by hospital staff like nurses and doctors. Stuff like deaf people can't talk, all deaf people sign, things like that. Admittedly, this is also why when I go to a store by myself, I immediately become mute by choice so I don't have to deal with the BS. So I'm thinking her reasoning is so she too didn't have to deal with the same BS. Regardless, speaking and getting spoken back to don't help. She's deaf and had no sound at the time. It's true that I speak, and I speak very, very well, largely due to years of speech therapy and having hearing aids as a child. This isn't the case for everyone, as each person has differing levels of what they can and cannot hear. While I'm comfortable with how well I speak verbally, not everyone is, so some people with cochlear implants are still likely to sign due to knowing how their voice sounds. So that's a confidence thing. Why didn't she just try the coupon with the batteries instead of getting someone that could help her communicate? I'm pretty sure she just happened to see me rather than going out of her way to look for me. So it's easier for her to sign to me requesting help than it is to potentially get to the register with her stuff and not being able to hear the employee say if the coupon could be used or not. This could also be a confidence thing too, having at least some level of being able to communicate with hearies back and forth while her cochlear implant was out of commission due to batteries. Why did she give me $1 if she was looking to save the money? The coupon she had saved her a little over $2 on the batteries, and it was a darn good coupon, so major score. I guess she saved enough from it and wanted to tip me for being her middleman in communication. I know I've been in scenarios where I could turn my hearing aids off until I know I was being spoken to, then turn them on in an effort to save batteries because I was on my last set and couldn't get more for another day or two away. Didn't any of the employees know how to sign? I know for a fact there are a couple of cashiers and one stalker that at least knows basic signing and can say stuff like, "Hi, my name is blank, have a good day," etc. but their knowledge is nowhere near the point of being able to assist without signing, beyond that without resorting to slowly, painfully slow, spelling. Like W-H-A-T, hamster wheel spinning, Y-O, 30 seconds later, U. I generally commend someone for knowing the ASL alphabet well enough that low speech bandwidth of just spelling everything rapidly is better than no signing at all. This is true for most deafies in a hearing environment. That's all I can think of. Moral of the story, not everyone that asks for help thinks you're an employee. Some know for a fact that you're not but still request help. You may be the only person in the entire store, even counting the employees, that is able to help quickly and reliably. That was incredibly wholesome, and I really enjoyed reading that. And I'm interested in knowing if we have members of the deaf community listening right now. And before you think that was a really stupid question, no, it was not, because, first of all, not everyone who's deaf is fully, completely deaf. And two, there are hearing aids, as we just read about. And anyways, if you are a member of the deaf community, let me know if you've ever had any nice, wholesome encounters like this one. Because I can imagine needing help can be a scary situation because, you know that not everyone will be able to help you. Anyways, moving on. This story's called, Today I Flabbed Up by Starting an Ant War in My Backyard. I found ants a few months back for the first time in my yard. Decided to play war. Attack 1. I tested out chemicals, not ant killer, to see what all would happen to ants if they were attacked by all sorts of stuff like dry ice, off spray, psychedelic mushrooms, another batch of different ants, and a few other methods. Attack 2. I realized that pretty much nothing was stopping them. Even if they suffered mass casualties, they'd just make a new mound. So I decided to go all out with the method I found most useful. Still no ant killer because that's a pusillanimous move in war. I went for the bubble bath soap, the heavy guns. I filled each mound up with bubble soap and began blasting my hose directly into the mound. Beautiful! The soap comes up from the bottom pits of the mound, creating a mushroom cloud effect, filling each and every tunnel they have. The thousands of ants are raised out of the ground and into a large soap bubble where they slowly die. Now here's where things get interesting. I started feeling kinda bad. Their larvae started forming faces prematurely, and the ants themselves began looking a little, mutated. I assumed I had one. I assumed they had enough. I was so wrong. A few days later, I realized the ants seemed annoyed. They started to grow new mounds at a terrifying rate. It's time for ant killer. I spread it throughout my yard, presumably killing off the rest of their army, which I did for about a week. They return. I call pest control. He uses his government-issued weapons to take care of them for me. It was embarrassing, but foreign aid really saved the day. A healthy yard is looking promising. No, literally 2 days later, I wake up in my bed to ant bites. There were about 5 in my bed and a full line of ants going towards my bed from the window. They were back, and they were coming straight for me. Flash forward to today, I have called 2 different pest controls. They have informed me that my house walls are probably infested with ants now. Unsure of where we go from here because I'm nervous about telling my landlord. It appears as though I have lost the great ant battle of Backyard, Texas, and that the war is nowhere near ending. Nothing I do can stop them, and they won't stop coming. No. No. Oh, okay. Okay. Gosh. Okay, you think that he's talking about freaking White Walkers the way he's talking about the ants. Jeez. Anyway. Ants in Texas are insanely annoying. They are relentless. They do not stop coming. I sprinkled pesticide freaking cinnamon, which is supposed to be a very, very effective repellent. I've sprinkled cinnamon all over ant entrances, and they don't care. They don't give a crap. That's like the ant equivalent of like spamming someone with rotten eggs and they're just like, oh yeah, give me more! This story's called, Today I Fudged Up by Eating Rice Noodles. Firstly, this is gross, but it doesn't really involve bodily fluids. It's not safe for work in a sexual or violent sense, but I'm adding the tag just in case. Secondly, I wanted to give this a more interesting title, but I didn't want to spoil the ending. Thirdly, I know I'm publicly humiliating myself, but hopefully my stupidity helps you feel better about yourself. I'm a fan of rice noodles, even though I don't eat them very often. Last night, I decided to have a simple meal of rice noodles, the thinnest kind, with vegetables. It just so happens that I am a boring person who enjoys rice, and consequently, rice noodles plain, with no sauce added. And so, there I was, eating my dinner that was pretty much plain white aside from the green, orange, and yellow from the added vegetables. After I was finished, I decided to go and watch YouTube on my computer. And so there I was, relaxing, my attention absorbed by the video I was watching. My butt began to itch a bit, so I briefly scratched my butt crack and continued watching. I soon forgot that I had even touched my butt. Now it is time for me to make a confession, and with this, you'll probably be able to guess how this story will end. I do get pinworms sometimes, but I take the necessary measures to help abolish them, and I usually feel better after a few days. Earlier that day, I had noticed that I had pinworms again. And so, I had washed all my clothes and sheets and washed my body and hands extra thoroughly. I hadn't noticed any worms or itching in my butt that day, so I thought they were already gone. Anyway, I eventually saw something on my index finger when I moved my gaze away from my screen. It was thin, white, and translucent, and only a couple of centimeters long. I thought I saw it move a bit, but it was so tiny I assumed I had just imagined it since one of the medications I need can sometimes make my vision woozy. Still focusing on YouTube, I immediately assumed it was a tiny section of rice noodle that somehow remained stuck on my finger. I absent-mindedly licked it off my finger and swallowed it right away. It didn't really taste like anything, but my finger smelled like butt. And I felt pretty disgusted with myself once I remembered that I had not long ago itched my butt crack with that finger. I soon realized that I had even more reason to be disgusted with myself. As I watched another video, my butt began to itch more, and there was a familiar, uncomfortable feeling that was now inside my anus. I recalled the pinworms, and I felt annoyed that the parasites must still be inside me after all. And then my mind went back to the mysterious, whitish object that had been on my finger. It had moved, hadn't it? Oh no! Oh my gosh! Okay, so if you're having a bad day, just remember you're not the dude that ate his booty worm. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.